Hello everybody, Steve Mitten here, and this is another video in my online marketing kind of basic series. And today I'm going to be talking about social media basics. Social media networks are here to stay. The number of ways that you can learn, be entertained, express yourself, connect with large networks of people online and generate income for your business continues to grow. And from a business perspective these days, you simply can't ignore social media. You've got to take it seriously. Let me share a few numbers to illustrate this point. When you look at some of the bigger social media sites, the numbers are really boggling. For example, Facebook is closing in to 2 billion active monthly users, people that use it every single month. LinkedIn is much smaller, but it still averages over 100 million average monthly users. Twitter has somewhere in the range of 300 million average monthly users. And on YouTube, there's 5 billion videos watched every single day. And in case you think, well, that's nice, I kind of know it's coming along, but social media is just for teenagers, just for my kids. The reality is the demographics of social media have shifted greatly. For example, well, Facebook might have started in a college dorm, and really invented for college students to connect. The typical user profile has shifted radically. In North America, there are 17% more people over the age of 40 using Facebook now. So, that's a pretty important thing to remember. Another factor coming out of social media research shows that about 80% of consumers are more inclined to purchase from you if you have a credible social media profile. It's one of the things people do when they check you out. And if they find you on social media, they're more likely to buy from you. So what you need to know to kind of not only survive in this area, but thrive in this environment comes down to some, pretty straightforward and yet important facts. And I'd like to talk about a few of these in this video today. Well, as you know, if you've seen some of the earlier videos in this series, there is this fundamental shift happening in how people learn of, evaluate, and buy new products and services. The old school approach of blanketing people with a commercial message just simply doesn't work. We don't trust, conventional marketing. A good example of that is over 86% of current TV ads are just not even watched. People just fast forward right through them because we get our information elsewhere. These days, we are simply far more likely to trust information coming from our neighbors than we are from any company. And this should make sense. I mean, think about it. If you wanted to go out to a new restaurant and you went online, who would you be more likely to trust? What the restaurant says about itself on its website, or what people on Yelp or TripAdvisor or Google say about the restaurant? We trust our peers more than a vendor. That's even if we don't know those peers, we take the information they share as being far more valuable. So to succeed in social media, you've got to understand that people like to get their information in a very different way than they used to. And you also got to understand that for you to be effective in this environment, you've got to take a longer term view. You definitely have to really understand, you really know who your ideal audience is, what they are interested in, because you've got to regularly share content that's relevant to them. I mean, simply pushing a commercial message, simply pushing buy my stuff buy my service message is a recipe to be ignored. When it comes down to it, social media is really a lot about conversations. It's about building awareness, building trust, connecting, creating relationships, but not just any relationships, like win-win relationships that really engage new potential clients by educating them, entertaining them, or inspiring them. This new age of marketing is definitely, a give first environment. It's a give first approach. You've got to share what you know and who you are to build those relationships and get them to a stage where people, know you enough to buy from you. And if you give or share generously what you know and what you're interested in through social media and build an audience and a network or two, you're going to create communities that are interested in what you're interested in. So, this will help you understand the key to success in social media is creating really good, content, because that's what creates a lot of the great relationships. And you want your content, and when I say content, I mean, articles, videos, observations and comments, recordings that really help your audience, your community learn or feel good, so that they keep coming back, so that they keep connected to you and the rest of the community, and hopefully pass on what you are sharing to an ever larger audience. Because when people learn something from you, a lot of them are going to share it, and that audience just keeps building, that community keeps building. So it's very important in the world of social media to remember that this is a place to share, and it's a place for you to be real. I mean, to be yourself, to let your real personality show. Don't show up trying to be someone you're not, being too professional, too academic. That, those messages, we just have a sense when somebody's not being who they are, and we tune them out. And don't feel that you've got to, have the personality of a stand-up comic or the looks of a movie star to find your audience out there. I mean, there are hundreds of millions of people, billions of people online. There's enough people out there that whoever you are and whatever your message is, you're going to find people that resonate with it. You're going to find your tribe. So don't, imagine you've got to be someone else. And also don't imagine that you got to spend a fortune on these productions. I mean, I'm talking to you today on the webcam on my, my laptop. And that's pretty standard practice for a lot of social media. You don't have to go out and make a, elaborate video for many, many audiences. So keep it real. But if you, just are who you are and you consistently add value to community, then you're going to find, the audience that's right for you. Now, assuming you know your audience and have some relevant content, articles, videos, images that you want to share, here are some other social media basics that are just going to help you get a lot more traction with whatever you share out there. First off, you should, and you will always benefit from having a goal for what you're trying to achieve through any social media work you do. Is it just to raise awareness on you or your product or service? Or perhaps you want to get people to your website or your Facebook page or, a selling page you've got. Maybe you want them to subscribe to your newsletter so you can start a relationship and cultivate it. Be clear what your goal is for a post, because, every post, or at least every community you have, should have a goal and an idea of what you want to come out of it. Then you want to find out a few good ways, places, networks where you can easily connect to your ideal clients. And these days there are literally dozens and dozens and dozens of options, spanning blogs or some of the big social media sites, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. There's other forums. I mean, the ways you can connect to people are really endless and expanding. But naturally, particularly if you're starting out, choose just a few simple approaches that are a good fit for you, that connect you to, a lot of your ideal clients. so that you can learn how that site works, and you can learn, some of the pros and cons of these different sites. We're going to be talking more about some of the pros and cons and of the various networks going forward in future videos. So we'll expand on that later. But for now, find a few ways to reach your audience. Don't just rely on one. That's the message there. And whatever channels you choose that are best for you and your audience, remember when I talk about keeping it real, what that translates into writing and sharing, speaking in a relaxed, natural voice, but perhaps dial up your enthusiasm a little more, because it just translates into more people being engaged in what you're doing. Also remember, people don't want really intricate, detailed information what you're doing. People these days, and certainly on social media, are in a hurry. They want something useful. They want something practical. They want something kind of short that they can digest and use today. So, keep it that way. And also, don't wait on the sidelines to come up with some idea that no one has ever thought of, written about, talked about. That is a ridiculously high bar, and it'll guarantee to keep you doing nothing on social media. Rather, find a way to share your own take, your own interpretation on common useful topics that come up in your life and the life and careers of your customers, and make it brief. And brief gets briefer every year. Whatever you write about in your social media work, take the time to choose a great title or heading. There's a lot written on this topic. There's courses on this topic. There's many approaches to get attention and stand out and kind of pique curiosity. You can learn an awful lot by simply Googling, how to write a great title or heading for my blog or, for Facebook. But, and there's lots of examples out there, but typically, like a simple approach is to name your audience. Like if I'm talking to coaches, say coaches, and then, 3 action items, steps, insights to solve a specific problem or challenge. I mean, there's many other approaches, but just remember to keep it real and maintain 100% integrity in everything you do. Never cross over into the dark side of, marketing and attempt to manipulate or trick people or, exaggerate what you're doing, because, that damages trust, it damages relationship. It's just not going to work for you. Now, when you create content, do your best to make it meaningful, visual, and engaging. Pay attention to the first few sentences and the first few paragraphs. Make them as engaging as possible. Perhaps you can tease or reveal a bit of what people are going to learn by carrying on. That's really important, because you got to remember, as we've talked in some of the earlier pieces, that people are in a hurry. The typical viewer of your website, your blog, your social media post is going to read 25% or less of what you've got there. So you got to think about what you want to stand out, what you want them to notice, how you're going to get them engaged, what you want them to learn, what you want them to feel, right? And if you don't do this, they're just not going to be motivated to take the next step of getting to know you more or anything else. Which reminds me, in everything that you do on social media, always give thought to what is the next step for the people that are watching what you're doing or reading what you're putting out there. What's that going to be? Do you want to point them to your website, to join your community, to take a free report? But make sure you make that next step or that first step something that's easy for them to say yes to, because most of your visitors, particularly first-time visitors, they haven't made their mind up yet whether they want to be in a long-term relationship with you, be committed to something serious with you. They probably don't want, you to call them or to be bombarded by, thousands of emails. So make it easy for people that get to know you to kind of begin to follow you and get a better feel for you, right? But do have a call for action. Okay, moving on. Generally, in all social media posts, it's going to be better for you to post directly on whatever site you're part of, like if on your Facebook. Post directly to Facebook. There is software that'll take one post and spill it across all the social media you're involved in, but many sites, and Facebook in particular, is going to kind of penalize you for that. In other words, they're going to give you far better kind of coverage if you post directly. Okay, and whenever you post, also always seek or invite comments, shares, likes, questions. If you get people talking about your stuff, it makes it more engaging. It creates more sense of a community as other people kind of see other people, followers of yours see other people commenting. And it's also a great signal to most social media sites, hey, here's kind of a happening topic, and thus they'll naturally share it more widely in their systems. As it relates to best times to post, generally, midweek is a better time to post than like first thing Monday morning or last thing Friday afternoon. Generally, people kind of get, most of their work done earlier in the day, so afternoons are often better times to post. But there's all sorts of exceptions to this. For example, you can get higher traffic in prime hours midweek. But you can also tend to get a higher percent of people engaging later on in the week. So whatever networks you choose to work on, experiment with your audience. Pay attention to, what times of the day or what times of the week more of your clients, potential clients, are out there and engaging in your posts. And, another tip is remember to post your stuff multiple times. I mean, don't just post one thing and hope that everybody sees it. Totally acceptable, totally best practice, particularly on sites like Twitter, to mention it again, next week, or recycle the article or piece 3 months from now. And every time you put it out there, the people that have seen it and learned something from it, they're not going to hold that against you. And the people that haven't seen it, and this is particularly true in social media because your audience can grow so quickly once you start sharing. I mean, they really are going to get value out of that. So remember to, post your stuff multiple times. Use content, recycle content. Many of you perhaps have written stuff years ago before you had a website or social media. So that's often really good stuff that you can share multiple times. Other social media tips, whatever you post, be sure to, wherever you can, use a good image. I mean, there's great research that shows images dramatically increase engagement. They can increase engagement by 50%. And they also increase kind of retention. If you just have a written post, there's research that shows that, less than 10% of that is retained a couple of days down the road. But if you can convey your message in an image or with an image, 6 times the amount of information can be retained a couple of days down the road. So use an image and take time in choosing an image. Choose an image that's really appropriate, relevant for your product or service. Try to use images that are kind of bright or eye-catching or inspirational or that, evoke some messages, even when they're viewed in a small format, because, over 50% of internet searches now are on handheld devices. So you got to think about your images. You don't want, too much text anywhere on an image, but what text you do have, you want it to be readable on even small devices. And there's a plethora of free image sites out there. So, lots of small business folks and consultants and coaches use sites like Canva or Pixabay to find images that they can share without attribution. Now, moving on, as you approach beginning to play in social media, do your best not to get overwhelmed, not to get overwhelmed by the dozens of social media sites and networks. I really encourage you to start small. Pick one, pick two. That's good for your audience. if you get a couple of communities going there and learn some lessons, it's so much easier to expand and leverage yourself. But also remember that even though you're starting small, what social media's huge gift is to the small business person is that it offers the opportunity for you to reach a huge audience really, really quickly. So, you can, for example, even just on one social media site like Facebook, you can create a Facebook page, or even on your Facebook profile, begin to share things on a Facebook page. You can, boost posts that get interest. And for like, $20, you can reach like 10,000 people that are your ideal clients, your specific demographics. And it's really common for people, once they start on a social media site, to, kind of build their audience, if not geometrically, but, in a really strong way, that a couple of months down the road, you've got thousands of people that are aware of what you do. Not random people, people that are interested in your topic, that begin to learn from you and slowly begin to appreciate what you do enough to hire you. So even though you start small, you can still reach a real big audience. And whatever you share on social media, ask for people to comment on it, to like it, to pass it on, because that's kind of a mechanism that helps your audience grow. Okay? We've covered a lot today, and this is a big topic, and in future videos I'll be expanding on some of these issues. So please leave me your comments on specifically what you might want to learn more on. I definitely plan to be talking in more details on some of the bigger social media sites so you can get the most out of them. But I'd love to hear what else you're interested in. So drop me a note, leave a comment, and I'll do my best to incorporate whatever you're interested in into future videos. Okay, everybody, that's what I had to share with you today. Good luck with your business, with everything else you're doing, and I'll look forward to touching base again sometime soon. Take care. Bye-bye.